A very pleasant good afternoon. Hello.
Good
Good
afternoon.
afternoon.
I really would love to show you my pretty face, but for one reason or the other, I'm not so sure what is happening. My video is not coming on, so it means that I need to have somebody take a look at my instrument at another time to see what is going on with the instrument. But good afternoon to everyone and welcome to your first class with for Health Promotion 1. We have no light on campus, and so the documents that should have been uploaded for you to have in preparation for the class, they were not uploaded. So the course outline was not posted. Your assignments, which are part of the course outline, those are not yet up. There's another tool that should have been there for you to get some work done. That is part of your assignment. So we will put a lid on those until our next class next week. So there's not anything for you to worry about at this time, but we will just go to our first class, and next week we will catch up where we would have left off this week. Is that okay with everybody?
That's fine.
Right. Have you already selected a class rep? Petri, are you the class rep?
No, I'm not the class rep.
Who is the class rep?
We haven't selected anybody yet.
You need to do so. We are now starting class. You need to do so. But it is easier for us to make contact with you whenever we have emergencies like today, where we have no current on campus. So we are going to be spending some time looking at health education, health promotion, and just an overview and the basics concepts of what health education and promotion is all about. And these are the objectives that we aim to achieve at the end of today's session. That at the end of today's discourse, you should be able to explain what is health education, what is health promotion, look at both of them as cross-cutting disciplines, to look at the multiple approaches to health that enhance and the reason for them, and the benefits of a population approach to promoting health and well-being. So when we look at health education and health promotion, I tend to call it the glue that joins the pegs together. And because it is a cross-cutting discipline, it really pulls the things together, pull the different sectors together when we have health or health-related issues that requires attention, especially if it requires national and public attention. So we are going to be spending our first part of the class looking at health promotion as a cross-cutting discipline. And then we go into health education, health promotion, and you'll understand why it is considered such. As a cross-cutting discipline, health promotion is considered such because it intersects with multiple sectors and areas of life. And if you just want to even reflect a bit, you would have recognized that, take for example, the Jamaica Moves campaign that was launched by the Ministry of Health and Wellness. You will recognize that all the sectors within our nation or population are integrally involved with that particular campaign. So irrespective of which sector you're working in, it is not just for health staff, it is for everybody within the country, including students in schools. So it really intersects the various sectors within the society. And it also goes beyond traditional healthcare settings. So it was not just deemed for healthcare workers or deemed for health centers and hospitals. All the sectors have been involved. Yes, we know that it had gained quite a bit of traction and it was doing extremely well. But then came COVID-19. And so for 3 years, we'd have lost quite a bit of momentum. Yes, we tried to do the rebuilding. It is not as robust as it used to be. And so we will see after tomorrow if it is going to be gaining traction again. because we do not know if there's going to be a changing of the guards and whether or not the incumbent or if that person will be of a similar mindset. But one of the things that we can look at for this one that we are looking at is the fact that the minister himself became a champion of the cause. And when you can get a political will behind an event or an activity or a program, then you find that you can achieve a whole lot. If the political support is not there, it is much more difficult. So if we can look at if the tobacco legislation that was passed in 2013, that took us 10 long years to get to that point. And we had it passed. The current minister, that's not his he didn't catch that particular vision. He catch the vision of the Jamaica move. He never catch that particular vision. So since he came in, we have not had a lot being done about that, but he had taken on another program that he has been running with. So even when we change political directives, you find that there are some things that may not get the kind of support that we want in our efforts for continuity. And that's a part of life and something that we have to understand that these things happen. As a cross-country discipline, it integrates knowledge. It looks at strategies and practices from various fields to improve overall well-being and the quality of life. So it's not just about increasing people's knowledge. We have to look at a different type of strategies because we have a whole population and there are different sectors within the population. So what we'll use as a strategy to engage those students who are in the basic school, we may need to find a different strategy to engage the ones that are in the high school. And we may need to find a different strategy to engage the adults. And it depends on which section of the adults that we are engaging. Because the older folks will need something, a different strategy from what the younger folks will need. So when we think of it, has to be multiple strategies because we have multiple target populations that we are dealing with within the entire population that we are serving. And so so the approach to the interdisciplinary approach, it must look at multiple fields. So even though we would have started out with public health because that's where it sits primarily, we have to understand that public health has to draw from the field of medicine. Public health will have to draw from psychology, sociology, education, economics, and many other disciplines as we look at the holistic approach to it. So this interdisciplinary approach allows for a more comprehensive understanding of health and well-being, addressing not only the physical health, but also we have to look at the mental, the social, and environmental factors. So indeed, when we talk about health promotion, health education being a cross-cutting discipline, you realize that it has a finger basically in all the pies. So as we have said before, it takes a holistic view of health. By incorporating insights from diverse disciplines, health will promote the view health holistically. It considers interconnectedness of different aspects of life, such as the social determinants of health, environmental influences, as well as the individual behavior. And so we recognize as we continue in this course that there are times when things are happening with persons and it may be outside of their control. So even when we talk about persons and their lifestyle factors, if we want to look at something like obesity, we have to remember that it's not just lifestyle factors that impact obesity. There are some health or health related issues that may cause persons to be overweight and there's absolutely nothing they can do about it even when they are on medication. So people may have sometimes some what the term for it again, it just missed me, autoimmune situation. Take for example thing like Hashimoto, which is a thyroid autoimmune condition that cause persons to gain weight. So it may not be other lifestyle factors, but health related issue. You have some families where just about everybody in the family seem to be of that size. It might be something that is hereditary. So even when we talk about engaging persons, and we talk about lifestyle factors and managing health and well-being and even managing their weight, we have to be mindful that there are many things that may cause, and so the one hat necessarily will not fit everybody as we go. When we advocate for policy, we're talking about how do we influence public policy. Health promotion plays a critical role in shaping public policy across various sectors, including education, including housing, including transportation, and including the environment. So, for example, policies promoting physical activity can influence urban planning and transportation sectors. And you might ask, how can this be? So, for example, you have some countries that have a policy that they call park and walk. So what happened is that the car park is not on the same street where the offices that they are working in are located. So they have to park in the car park and then they have to walk it to their offices. That's the park and walk that they are talking about. And there are some countries, for example, in Europe, Germany, France, Netherlands, Switzerland, it has been said that these countries are countries that entrench into their whole culture, the whole business of parking and walking. In Asia, we find Japan and Singapore having these things in place. Within the Caribbean, it is said that Puerto Rico is also one that subscribes to this. But in Puerto Rico, one of the features that we have to keep in mind is the fact that it has been said that their streets are very narrow. And so people have to park and walk because the streets cannot hold the vehicle in the first instance. So they may have to do that by virtue of their geographical landscape. In Jamaica, have we done that? The only place I think I see where any attempt is being made to do that might be the conference center downtown, where the car park is one place, and you actually have to walk from the car park to get into the conference halls. That is the closest I think we have gotten to that. But other than that, most of our parking spots are practically at the step of our offices, and we just park and walk up the staircase. So there is a lot more that can be done, but we have to have that will to do the things that need to be done. How can we, as public health practitioners, advocate for some of these policies to be put in place? Will we get the political will for it to happen? We can also advocate for social change. And in this regard, we promote equity and access to health resources. So part of that is trying to ensure that everybody has equal opportunity to access health. We know that our current government, they would have instituted the removal of user fees, and they can be applauded for that. But in the same breath, for those of us who work in the health sector, would have realized that there is a gap that is left now to be filled because of the abolition of user fee. Do we have the money in the budget to fill that gap? Usually the answer is no. So talking from experience, what I have found happening now is that you'll take your loved ones in for medical care, and sometimes what will happen is that you get a sheet of paper and you are told to go get those tests done and then bring back the results. For those of us who are working in the health sector, what has been your experience?
Yes.
Hello?
Yes, that is true, definitely.
So
That
is
free health care means you get to access the staff free of cost. Just the staff.
I
Doctor, nurses, you get access to them free of cost. But that's it.
exactly. The other day, a relative of mine, her father was hospitalized in the western area, and he had a test that needed to be done. It was $65,000. All I did was to give her the paper and tell her she need to go get the test done, and it was heart related. So it's not something that they could put down and say we don't have the money today. They had to find the money and do it. And so the question can be asked: are we really enjoying free healthcare in Jamaica? So those are some of the nitty-gritties that we have to look at. But what we need to do as we advocate for that is for everybody to have access to health resources without having to worry about whether or not they can pay the bills. And these are some of the issues that are of concern. We have also need to look at influencing policies that impact social determinants of health, things such as poverty, education, and employment. We know that poverty does exist. And having said that, I'm thinking about some of the utterances now that are coming at us from the campaign trail. And we wonder when it does settle, how many of those utterances are promises that will be able to be fulfilled, because we are hearing them from both sides of the fence as they try to gain the popular vote. And so we'll just have to wait and see at the end of the day what actually happens. With education, we're talking about the influences policy. We do have policies in Jamaica to impact education, but we would have seen that since COVID, there is quite a bit of students who would have been lost to the system. And I know that the Minister of Education did say that they were going to make effort to find these missing children. I don't know that they have found them. And the word on the ground, if we listen to what is happening in the social environment, is that some of them have gotten themselves involved into areas that they ought not to have been involved in. But because they had this downtime, they said there's an old saying that says the devil find work for idle hands. And so some of those hands that were idle, unfortunately, have found themselves into areas that ought not to be. And so some of them end up with the whole scamming thing. And people are people. Once they are earning income, whether it is legal or illegal, it is sweet. And so the whole idea of giving this up and going back to school, a lot of them not going to be doing that depending on what age range or age bracket they are in. We also see sometimes when our youngsters at the street lights, they are wiping windows and they are small children. Those children ought to be in school. Why are they on the road? So is it that we are really having equal opportunity for education for everybody? We look at tertiary level education and the cost of education. You can look at yourselves and the cost that it is that you have to bear unless you are on a scholarship to pursue this program that you are pursuing. So there are still inequity within the society, and so and that unemployment again. That's something that we can look at. One of the things that I particularly don't like is when I see an advertisement and they would have laid out the academic achievement that they expect, and then at the end of it they talk about how many years of experience. And so the question that can be asked, how can they gain experience without somebody employing them to gain that experience? They do not graduate from university with experience unless they went there with the experience in the first place. So what are the opportunities for persons to gain this experience that employers are actually asking for? Another aspect of it is the whole business of community engagement. Health promotion emphasizes community participation and empowerment. A tenet of health promotion is that you plan with the people, for the people. So therefore, as practitioners, we are not expected to sit down in our nice, pretty air-conditioned offices, see something from an epidemiological report, and decide we are going to plan a campaign. We need to have dialogue with the people. Many years ago, when I was young and green around the gill and on the field working, we were having some issue with dengue outbreak, and we were getting some sponsorship from an international organization to mount a campaign to combat the number of cases that we were seeing. What we did not do was a due diligence, that is, do our needs assessment in a way that it really ought to have been done. So yes, we went in, we did a little survey with the people within the community, but when the findings came back, yes, the people agreed that they were having issues with mosquitoes, but that was not their number one priority. Their priority was the bad roads that existed within their community, and they wanted to see those fixed. When the findings were shared with the international organization, we were told that the only thing that the money could be used for was to do mosquito eradication. So we went in with our campaign. At the end of the day, the people did bring out the gold garbage and stuff that they had around the back that need to be disposed of. And they nicely put it at their gate and they went back into their houses and closed the door. So it was us, the healthcare workers, and the trucks that were moving the garbage that actually had to load the truck with the stuff. So at the end of, and then they did some aerial spraying for the mosquito. A lot of persons who had bee farming industry going came out on the losing end because the aerial spray actually killed the bee for, and their bee industry was impacted. So the money was spent, but we never get that community engagement because we did not plan with the people. Looking back in hindsight, if I knew if I knew then what I know now, what would have happened is that would have done that intersectoral collaboration, that stakeholder thing, and bring in other sectors onto the platform so that all issues that came out of that little survey that we did could have been addressed. Then they would have recognized that we were listening to them, we understand, and we were willing to help them engage the different organizations that would have been crucial in satisfying the concerns and the needs that they had. That never happened, and so the money was spent, but I don't know that the objective that we really set out to achieve were achieving the way that we really wanted to achieve. So we have to encourage communities to take control over their health by addressing local issues that are of concern to them, and creating for them a supportive environment. Because without the supportive environment, we will not have sustainability, and what we need to have done will not get done. In addressing environmental factors that influence health, we have to advocate for things like clean air, clean water, and safe housing. So we can think of some of the recent issues that we would have had here in Jamaica with the water pollution taking place in the Rio Cobre, and how it had impacted the fish in that waterway, and the livelihood of the persons who would have been fishermen or fisher folks, where they gained their livelihood from fishing. Some were paid some money, I don't know, to whether or not what they were given could compensate for the many days that they would have lost their livelihood and how much they would have gained over those days. We need to promote sustainable practices that will benefit both the people as well as the planet, because if both are not taken care of, then there is going to be challenges and there will be issues that needs to be there. When we think about economic and social impact, this little cartoon fellow is saying that my bank is the worst. They are charging me money for not having enough money in my account. Apparently, I can't even afford to be broke. Is this a reality here in Jamaica? Is this one of our realities?
Yes, it is.
Oh, yes.
So you know you have your account. I remember I had an account at a bank, and I had not put any money in that account for quite a while. So of course I find myself with some money one day, and I decided that I was going to go down there and drop something in the account. When I walked to the teller, he told me that the account was closed. So I said, "Excuse me? The account only have my name in it. So what do you mean the account is closed? Oh, you need to go to customer service." When I went to customer service, it was only to find out that because I had not put any money in the account for a little while, the people sitting at the bank, and then slowly but surely take out the whole of my little money, saying it was for administrative cost. And when they were finished, they closed the account. To say I was mad like shot is an understatement. And as I said to them in the bank that day, if they had not given me any interest on my money, I would not have complained. But what they did was to steal what I had, because that was my hard-earned cash. And I asked them to explain to me what administrative costs they were talking about. Is it that every morning somebody get up and go in the vault and count every money that is in the vault, take it out and then put it back? Because that could have been the only administrative cost they were talking about. So I have suffered. I cannot afford to be broke again, because if that happened, then I might find that I don't have any account anymore. So these are some of the realities that we face when we think about the whole business of economic and social impact. So can you imagine persons having a little money, thinking it is there, going through some challenges, and when they go, there's absolutely nothing to help them cushion what they are going through. Health promotion recognize the link between economic
Mrs. Waters.
stability and health. Go ahead. Go ahead.
No, Mrs. Walters, I was just saying that even now they're charging you to, even if you're using the ABM to withdraw, they're charging you to take it out and it's yours.
Noreen, let me tell you something. You see? We live in a world of tricksters and con artists. First, when they introduced the online banking, it was so that you did not have to pay fees. And so they tell you that if you come into the bank, you'll have to pay fees because there's an online platform. After they succeed in putting all of us outside, then they start charging to use the online platforms. And sometimes you wonder, where is BOJ? Where are the members of parliament that I vote for? Don't they see what is happening around us? Can't they do something about it? So believe me, the service providers in this country and elsewhere, I am convinced that they are con artists. And a lot of persons are clamoring for go digital, go digital. Believe me. When we go digital totally and completely, we would have completely entered another arena of slavery. So we'd have moved from one slavery, gained some amount of independence, and then we are back into slavery, because when everything is digital, all they need to is to press one button and the entire system shut down, and we have access to absolutely nothing at all. So we are at the mercy of whoever has that push button in front of them. And I don't know that we are looking at any of these things. So people are telling some old people like myself that we're backward and we don't want progress. Yeah, what kind of progress? I like my little independence. So enough said on that. But we need to think carefully when these things are being placed on the agenda. We need to really look at them carefully. But I find that as a people, we gravitate towards and we don't spend time dissecting what is being pushed in front of us. Health promotion recognizes that there is really a link between economic stability and health, and it supports initiatives that improve people's financial literacy. It looks at promoting initiatives that makes job opportunities available for persons, access to affordable health care, thereby enhancing people overall health and well-being. And trust me, healthcare is very, very costly. Even if you go in and you are admitted in the hospital and you don't necessarily pay for the stay in the hospital, there is a cost attached to that stay. And I find that with the government in Jamaica don't really have a handle on the cost of healthcare. So they'll tell you that they allocate 20 billion or 30 billion to the health sector, but they can't really tell you exactly how much they spend for each patient care. If you go to a place like Andrews Memorial Hospital for health care and you stay one night, when you get your bill, it is a detailed bill down to a common pin if they use one, and how much it costs. So when you get the bill, you know exactly what is it that you have paid for. Within our public sector, we don't have that kind of handle on things. You buy stuff, you send it to the different health facilities. The patients come in, you just go in, you take out and you use, and there's no record of how much of what is used for each patient. So we really do not know what we are spending on each patient that comes in. But we know the overall figure it is spent, but not in individually how much is spent on each patient at any given point in time. So we really don't have a handle of what is happening in terms of our expenditure in health. There's a thing called social inclusion, and it promotes health promotion promotes this by addressing disparities in health outcomes and advocating for all individuals, regardless of their background, to have the opportunity to achieve optimal health. So sometimes I find that these things are the ideal, but on the ground, based on the availability of resources and other things, we are not attaining that which we would have articulated as that which we want to achieve. And so sometimes, because there's a cost attached, and without the cost, the equity that we want cannot be there, sometimes we have to put a little bit of prayer into the midst of everything, and sometimes we need to just pray and ask a little salary not to disappear so quickly, but to stay with us for a little while. Because you find that for some people, you get your salary today, and by the time the week is finished, that's where everything is finished, because by the time you'd have taken care of all the bills, the salary would have disappeared. When we look at education and the building of capacity, health education involves educating individuals and communities about healthy behaviors, disease prevention, and the benefits of a healthy lifestyle. And this education is often integrated into schools, workplaces, and other communities. So we say that for health education and health promotion, we have what you call a setting approach. And when we go into health promotion 2, if I remember correctly, that's where we are going to spend some time looking at a settings approach to health education and health promotion. So we'll delve some more into that in future classes. With regards to the building of our capacity, we build individuals and communities to make informed health decisions, fostering resilience and self-efficiency. So, for example, some of the campaigns that would have gone with, for example, the Wash On campaign, would have gone into the schools. We would not just tell the youngsters how to wash their hands. We teach them how to do it, and we allow them to demonstrate it so that they understand what is it that we would have taught them. When we had dengue campaign, we would have engaged the schools and we were in games like we call search and destroy, and put them in their little groups, and they would have a little area where they're going to do their search and destroy, and we give them little tokens so that they understand what is it that they need to do. So we don't just tell them, but we teach them so that they can acquire the skills that are needed to carry out the activities. When we're having big outbreaks, and so it is impossible for the few health promotion officers across the island to be everywhere. So there are times when we have to go in and we do capacity building at the community level. So we teach them the skills so that they are able to take it from there and they can run with it, and they themselves can actually teach others within their community. So that when, at the end of the day, the objectives would have been achieved. So it's not a matter of chalk and talk where health education and health promotion is concerned. A lot of skills training and capacity building must be a part of what we come to the table with. Looking at it from a global and local perspective, how relevant is it? There are many global health initiatives where health promotion addresses health challenges such as infectious diseases, chronic illnesses, and environmental health issues. And we do contribute to the international efforts like the Sustainable Development Goals. And you can spend some time looking at that because one of your assignment is going to be pinned to these SDGs. So you are getting a little heads up where that one is concerned. For the locally, we try to adopt what is happening to our local context. So take, for example, we had COVID-19 outbreak. A lot of what was coming came out of WHO, PAHO, and CDC. That's on the global international stage. We now would have to look at what is it that they are sharing with us and then craft them to fit our local context, because it's not a matter of one hat fitting everybody. They give us a broad perspective and we have to narrow it down to fit our local situation. For me, when we had COVID-19, the struggles that we had, I don't know that we should have had any of those struggles, because I remember there were a few years before COVID that we would have sat in meetings and like working groups and look at pandemics and how these were to be handled. So there was a blueprint that we should have been able to draw on, and that blueprint was at the ministry, because that was the level from which all of those seminars were working groups were organized, and we work on this big document. And so I don't know that we remember that we actually had material that we could have drawn on and twerk a little bit. The ministry also has as within their space the whole business of disaster preparedness. And to be honest with you, COVID-19 was a disaster. If we look at it, really look at it from a broader perspective. And so those blueprints were there. I don't know to what extent we manage it as well, maybe we did, maybe we did not. It depends on which perspective you are looking at it from. But I think there was a whole lot more that could have been done if we had just gone back to some of those blueprints and apply some of the things that we would have looked at and help the persons to understand. And I guess the way the information was being rolled out too, coming from the international organization side, where the first thing that came out, the impression that everybody had was that the persons who were most at risk were old people, because they were the ones dying, and so the younger people never subscribed to the disaster risk management protocols, because as far as they are concerned, are whole people dying. I remember one youngster one day when we went out was saying to us that they get COVID and the old people die. And I was saying, so are you happy that you are not wearing your mask and you are going to catch the disease, go home with it, and your grandmother, whom you love, is actually going to die, and you can't even have a proper funeral for your grandmother because of what was happening. So you have to sometimes get into the headspace and the psyche of the people that you're actually dealing with, to try and bring about that kind of change that would want to see in them, for them to be more responsible in their approach. With regards to sustainable development, it's more a long-term impact that we are looking at when we talk about health promotion, health education. It's being a cross-cutting discipline and the whole business of sustainable development, because it contributes to sustainable development by promoting practices that ensure long-term health and well-being for individuals. So we talk about things like healthy diets. We talk about things like physical activity. There needs to be more mental health support, the stimulation of awareness, the community empowerment, and in general, a supportive environment. And if we look at the many campaigns that would have come out of the Ministry of Health, we'll see where a number of these would have been a part and parcel of what was being rolled out in these campaigns. Currently, they are doing a campaign that is now called Know Your Numbers. And if you know your numbers, then you'll make better effort, we want to think, because we do know that knowledge does not always translate into practice. But it is hope that when people know their numbers, if is there any need for any lifestyle changes, then they'll be willing to make those lifestyle changes so that they can maintain as good a health as possible over a longer period of time. We talk about things like supportive environment. One of the things that we would have been stressing from the Ministry of Health and Wellness perspective is the whole business of exclusive breastfeeding for the first 6 months of life. And there's not much in terms of supportive environment. Granted, we are making steps in the right direction, but for years we would have been preaching that. But how many Ministry of Health premises or facilities do have a daycare facility that would allow for the vast majority of staff who are females, when they do have their babies, to be back at work, doing that their babies are just right down the corridor and they can go down there to breastfeed and they will be more relaxed and more productive. We don't have that currently. The only ones that I'm aware of, and I stand corrected, persons can correct me if I am wrong, but I know that there is one at Bustamante Hospital for Children. There's one at KPH that serves both KPH and VJH. There's one at Spanish Town Hospital, and I'm not so sure where else we have any such facilities. Anybody online who can really fill that gap for me? Any daycare facilities for staff, Ministry of Health staff?
Not based, not no additional one that I am aware of, separate from the ones that you mentioned. Certainly in St. Thomas, there is none at Princess Margaret or or at the health department level. But what I wanted to add, Mrs. Walters, was that when I went to a private company, I think it was a BPO company, and I was looking, walking around and looking at the on the building. I was surprised to see that they had a room for like exclusive breastfeeding. So they call it like a breastfeeding room for whatever, for example. And when you go in there, they have different little sections in there with privacy. So if the lady wants to express with her pumps, and I'm like, how come I've never seen this in the public sector? So that was, very, eye opening for me.
And I'm happy you saw that, because we are preaching it, but we are not practitioners of what we have been preaching. Who was that speaking? Was it Vanessa?
Yes, it was.
Okay. So we do not practice what we preach. So here we are going out there telling other people what they should do, while we ourselves are not doing what we are telling them that they should do. JMMB, we had featured them one year when we had National Breastfeeding Week. They have a facility and they do bring in persons to provide even after school care for the staff children. So when they pick them up from school at 2:30, they take them back and there's somebody in a room there to help them with their homework and all of those things. So the staff don't have to be worrying about what happened to their children. In our facility, we don't have anybody in health. As a matter of fact, the health staff will find that during the summer holidays, quite a number of persons want to be off on vacation leave. Why? Because they have nobody to care for their children. And I was working in a particular office, and I remember one mother had to just take a little girl to work with her every day. But guess what? She placed a little girl underneath her desk on a blanket to stay. So your poor little thing was just coop up underneath this whole blessed day, because we don't even have a nursing station there. Big office, no nursing station. We had to go on bad to get a lunch room. And so we have these things impacting the psychological and emotional area of our staff. And then we wonder why sometimes productivity is not where it ought to be. We have to look at the whole man. We need supportive environment for our staff. So we preach it to others, but we ourselves are not practicing. We are not putting it in place for our staff. So here we have our healthcare staff caring for everybody else, but nobody caring for the caregiver. So those are something that I hope that as we go through this masters in public health and you have been exposed to the various things, that when you go back to your places of work, that you will become champions for these causes, and little by little we can see the changes that we need to have, and things can get a whole lot better. So this course is not to come and get the paper and go back and sit on it. It's to get the paper, yeah, but the knowledge that you would have gained to get the paper, you are going to actionize it when you go back and get things in place. And I've often said that one of the things I wish that Edith had done, Edith Anderson, because she was a powerful woman, was to advocate for some of these things. I'm sure if she had tried, she would have gotten them in place prior to her departure from us. For long-term health outcomes, we want to focus on prevention and early intervention. So health promotion aims to reduce the burden of disease and healthcare costs in the long term. So if we can have persons practicing good health, then the health system will not be so overburdened, and we will not have to spend so much money caring for persons. But even for them to do what we are asking them to do, there needs to be a supportive environment. So there is no point in us telling people that they should be having 5 servings of fruits and vegetable, and then when you go into the market, lettuce is $1,000 and tomato might be $800 a pound, and it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense, because not many people will be able to afford that. And usually these prices, for whatever reason, when it comes on to the end of the year and the Yuletide season, these prices tend to skyrocket out of the reach of so many persons. Not so sure what is happening there, but I think that if the sectors were working together, we would have been encouraging our farmers to do staggered farming, and so everybody don't plant cabbage at the same time, and then there's a glut on the market, and they have to sell it for $20 per pound, and so they do not even break even in terms of how much they would have pumped into it in terms of their capital expenditure. So how can we work with RADA and the Ministry of Agriculture and Fisheries to say to the farmers, okay, you over there, you plant 2 acres of cabbage, you plant 2 acres of tomato, and then vice versa. So when the crops come in, the other one is going to be planting tomato, the other one is going to be planting cabbage. That kind of thing. So at all time, what you would have is a steady supply and a glut, and then nothing. So, I mean, oh boy, so many things that needs to be done. So multiple approaches to health enhancement. Why do we need to have that? No, I am going to ask individuals to complete this statement for me. So let me see if I can find my participant list and see whose name I'm going to call first. So, Alea, you want, I feel healthy when what?
When I exercise.
You feel healthy when you exercise, good. Alex, I am healthy because
Yeah, I'm mentally well.
I didn't get that.
Mentally well.
Something seems to be wrong with your audio. I am not hearing you clearly.
So, are you hearing me better now?
No, your kind of transmission is poor.
I'll type in the chat.
Anybody seeing it in the chat?
Yes, she said I'm healthy because I'm mentally well.
Great, and I like that. I like the fact that you touch on the mental part. All right, K. Palmer Cole. To stay healthy, what do I need to do?
I need to go to bed on time.
Do you think with this program you're going to achieve that?
With this program, well, yes, if I organize myself, yes.
Definitely not.
I like your positive attitude. Like seriously, I like your positive attitude if you organize yourself. All right. Snape. I become unhealthy when what?
I am stressed.
You become unhealthy when you are stressed. I am a little bit distracted because I'm trying to get the name of the persons who are online because I need to put you guys in a group. All right, and you don't have a group leader is going to send me the listing that I need. Who next am I going to call on? Simone. My health improves when I what?
When I eat more fruits and vegetables.
You can afford it, right? All right. Vanessa spoke already. I do remember hearing Vanessa talking. Veronica.
Yes, miss.
Someone affected my health by doing what?
By encouraging me to pray and to exercise.
So they affected your health in a positive
way.
All right. That's great. So having looked at that, we are now going to spend a little time exploring the concepts. What is health according to your children, your friends, and your co-workers? So talk to me now, talk to me. If you ask your children, what is health? What do you think the kind of answer you think you'll get from them?
When they're not sick.
When they are not sick, all right.
I figure being able to just kind of run up and down, that kind of stuff.
Where they can just run up and down. Anybody else?
My 3-year-old, she always talks about you're healthy when you drink a lot of water and eat nutritious food. She's always reminding me to do that.
Oh, holy shit.
I was just gonna say that. My daughter
She's
would say,
3
drink
years
more
old.
water and less juice.
3 years old. You know where I often said that that advertisement that came out from Heart Foundation, I think that was one of the best social marketing I've seen in a long, long time. Because I remember when my little granddaughter would have said to her mother too that she wants water she only wants sweet drink on a Tuesday. And so her mother would have asked her why. She said, didn't you hear what the TV said? We must drink water instead. So even the little children were actually paying attention to that particular advertisement. So for me, that was one of the best social marketing I would have seen for a very, very long time. What would your friends say if you ask them that same question?
Being able to climb 2 flights of stairs and not feel winded.
All right, anybody else?
One thing they would say to me, Mrs. Walters, is that they don't have to visit the doctor regularly.
Mm-hmm.
Some of my friends measure their health status by how often they go to the gym. So if they get to go to the gym once per week, they feel healthy.
All right. And friends and co-workers probably would just fall into the same bracket, right?
Yeah. Some would say physical, mental, and spiritual well-being.
Somebody gone and Google gonna find out the
No, I'm just part-time. So I've done this before.
That sounds like
That's Chris, Mrs. Walters. That's Chris.
Yes, sound like Chris, right? Chris Hines, yeah. Pick up that voice. All right. Important question. What informs my understanding of health? What informs the understanding of health and illness among laypersons and health professionals? So what would inform your understanding of health is not necessarily the same thing that is going to inform, and I say laypersons because they are not trained in health. And so I would call those are the persons I would have considered as laypersons. So what would inform your understanding of health is going to be totally different from what informed theirs. And for those who are medical doctors on the line, I promise you that if each time a patient comes to you, you ask the patient that question, you are going to get a whole plethora of responses because health means different things to different people. So health is really an English word, came from the English word hail, and it means to be whole. So health concerns the whole person, and it includes things like integrity and well-being. You might ask, how? If persons are not in the habit of doing the right thing when nobody else is looking, I promise you that they're not having a clear conscience, so mentally they are not well. Mentally they are not well. Because remember, health is not just the absence of disease, it also has to do with people's mental state. Views of health pass from generation to generation, and you're talking about lay concepts of health. So you know that we're here in Jamaica. We are of the opinion, or used to be of the opinion, that if you're not fat and round and robust, you're not healthy. And so even my mother, when she would have aged and aging was taking its process and the chronic diseases would have presented themselves and should have lost some weight, she complained bitterly every day. Lord, look upon me, look on me, maga. Because for her, health has to do with being fat. And we keep saying to her that fat is not a sign of good health. You look at a mother who has a baby, and if the baby not chunky, then as far as they're concerned, the baby is not healthy. So it has taken us a long time to start seeping into the psyche of people to let them understand that fat is not a sign of good health. Some would have grasped it by now. Some are still on the fringe, not getting it. Them still feel like if you're not fat and robust, then you're not healthy. If you're slim and trim, no one that want the too maga can't work. I mean, no one look so. So there are really two common meanings that are ascribed to health. The negative one that looks at just the absence of disease. If I don't have a disease, then I am fine. But we have to look at it from a positive perspective. There's a positive balance between four of the dimensions of health. So you talk about the mental component, you talk about the physical component, the social component, and one that we cannot leave out is the spiritual component. Many years ago, there was a conference, and one of the presentations that they looked at was the impact of spirituality on spiritual belief on stress. And the result from that finding, from that study, showed that persons who had religious persuasion were better able to handle stress. So we cannot leave out the spiritual component of people's belief because it forms a core part of who they are. So even if you do not believe that a God exists, do not dismiss your patient's belief or the person that you come into contact believe that there is a God, because it's from a very integral part of their health and well-being. So there are several views of health, and there's a medical perspective where it is seen that individuals are victims of external forces that causes internal changes. Health is absence of disease and illness. So this is how the medical perspective look at it. The responsibility for treatment rests with the medical personnel, and medical treatment can restore good health. Now, they think body parts are interconnected and it can be treated separately. But let's face the reality. We live in a technological age where people have access to a plethora of information. Do you still believe in this day and age that the medical professionals are the ones who have the responsibility to treat diseases or treat health-related conditions? Hello?
A joint effort.
All right. If a patient comes into you, and I'm talking to the medical practitioners online, and say to you that this is what is wrong with me, these are the symptoms that I am feeling, this is what is wrong with me, and this is what I want you to prescribe for me, how would you handle that patient? How would you treat with that? Will you throw them out?
No, I'll
There
ask them,
history
how
and
do you,
examination and appropriate treatment. If they need medication, they'll be given it. Or if they need to be referred to someone else, like another specialty or specialist after that. If they need physiotherapy, for example, I'll refer them to the physiotherapist.
Well, how would you really react to them telling you that these are symptoms and this is what is wrong? How would you feel? Honestly, how would it make you feel as a trained physician?
It depends on the mannerisms of the patient. If they're well mannered, I wouldn't feel any way, but if they're condescending, I might give them a unique answer.
Anybody else? Who just spoke?
yes, I just spoke.
No, no, there was a male voice saying that if they,
Chris.
yeah, it was Chris. All right.
Mrs. Walters, I think
Yes.
it's actually more common in this day and age because so many people are using Google. They'll come and tell you that Dr. Google told them X, Y, and Z. This is the diagnosis and this is what they want. It's not very far-fetched, to be honest, but I think if somebody shows interest in their health, as long as they're not being disrespectful, you kind of have to just find the middle ground to say, okay, well, I'm gonna take a history and examine you, and then I'll make my suggestions. I'll also consider what you've said, but I'll make my recommendations if they're different. And if you refuse, that's okay. I can't force you, but I can tell you what I think is probably best for you if, I see something else fit for your management. It's kind of how you approach them, I think. But at the end of the day, if a patient refuses treatment, then you can't force them to take your treatment. You can only suggest and recommend and then document. Some people tell you that they want to continue taking their garlic for their high blood pressure, and My thing is, sure, keep taking your garlic if that's what you want to do. However, I do think you still need medication. And that's my suggestion. And I'll write you the prescription. If you don't want the medication, that's fine. You don't have to take it. But this is the reason why I'm writing it for you, along with exercise, along with changing how you eat. So sometimes you have to just kind of, tell them you're happy that they're invested in their health and, they're interested. However, you're still going to do your own assessment and then you can work on it together. Really and truly, you're just making the best recommendation you can and consider what they've said.
Exactly. And I like that response from you, April. Chris, you said if they are, and from both of you did make mention if they are not rude and come across in an offensive manner. But even if they are rude and come across in an offensive manner, as the healthcare practitioner, you have to find ways of diffusing the situation and get to that place where you can have amicable discussion. Yes, they are going to be going to Dr. Google. And the truth be told, when you were doing your training, where did you get most of your information from?
But not everything is from Dr. Google either. Sometimes it's based on probably sometimes what an elder said. My grandmother tell me that when this happened, this is what you have. So sometimes you have to ask them, really? So where did you get your information from? Why do you think that you have this? And explain it to me. And then what we can do is do a little education, let them expand more on their reason for saying that this is what is wrong with them and this is what they want. And then you can explain why you would have to do further assessment and we'll send some tests. And then if it's that, then we go from there. But sometimes you have to take them back because sometimes it's not just Google, but it could be like a colleague or co-worker, because my friend said, when she had this is what it was. So sometimes we just have to pedal back a bit and just to try to understand their mindset as to where their general information came from.
Yes, and so there are several sources of information that feeds into where they are at when they come in. And as April also would have said, and I thank you for that, Cindy, as April also would have said, it's a good thing that they made an effort to do something. And so when they come, you have to pull to the fore all your communication skills and utilize those in the engagement with them, even if they may be in an aggressive way, because sometimes they will come and they are in pain, and so they may come across aggressive, especially if they are males and they feel in pain here. So you have to know, diffuse the situation, engage them in that discussion, and then bring them back to a place where they are now listening to you because they recognize that you would have paid attention to what they were actually saying. But we can't just dismiss what they are saying and tell them that it's foolishness or it is rubbish. No, if you go that way, you are going to lose that patient. They will sit there in front of you, you are talking, and all they see is your mouth going up and down, and they are hearing absolutely nothing at all from you. So you have to bring the communication skills to the fore and have that discussion with them. So responsibility for treatment, though you are the medical professional, they themselves is also going to be seeking out. And as Cindy would have said, the oral tradition from those grandparents and aunts and uncles, they are going to be utilizing those. And that is why you find that the old business of bush medicine is going nowhere anytime soon, because those older persons would have utilized those. Granted, things and times have changed, but the use of those alternative medicine, they have not changed. And those are not the only things that they utilize. And there's something I hope if it did, I hope the my little thing will play when I get there. Yes, go ahead.
Miss Waters?
Yes, Veronica.
So just to backtrack a bit, I completely agree what you're saying. But just looking at the definition of health, in the medical sense, where you're saying that it is the absence of disease and illness. So with that definition, is there anybody that is truly healthy? Because if persons are screened, I'm sure that something will come up. If
Not necessarily.
not yet progressed, there is something that would be there, right? And then you went on to say that medical treatment can restore good health. A lot of studies would have proven that stress would have manifested in a lot of other conditions. So if you can really attack and get rid of, manage your stress, some of the conditions that you literally seek treatment for would actually be non-existent. So just to throw that in the mix.
Yes, but remember, we are looking at different perspective of health. So
Right,
that is the medical perspective. So we're just discussing that the medical perspective cannot be the only way to view
right.
the whole business of health. Right. So when we do a comparative analysis between the medical versus the social perspective, the medical would say health is the absence of disease. From a social perspective, it says health is a product of social, biological, and environmental factors. So health is broadening the sphere and saying that it's not just that. There are other things that impact health that we need to consider even when we are looking at when they come to us for medical attention. Medical says health services are geared towards treating sick and the disabled. From a social perspective, health services should emphasize all stages of prevention as well as treatment. Medical perspective is saying that high value should be placed on specialist medical services. The social perspective is saying that more attention needs to be paid to self and to help community more attention should be paid to self-help. They're talking about people taking responsibility for their health and well-being, and that community activities and less should be placed on the role of specialists. So if we can help persons to understand the importance and value of practicing certain healthy lifestyle habits at the individual level, then there's going to be no need for them to come in for that medical care because they would have been doing the things that is going to help them to foster good health and well-being. Not to say other things may not happen that requires them to come in for medical care, but some things would not become routine. The medical perspective is saying that health workers are the ones who are tasked with the responsibility to diagnose, treat, and sanction what you call the sick role. From a social perspective, it's saying that health workers should be enabling people to take greater control over their own health and well-being. And we talk about pathogenic factors, which has to do with what biological factors that may cause ill health. But when we look at it from a salutogenic, me and that word, always tying up my tongue. From a salutogenic focus, the emphasis is actually being placed on understanding why people are actually healthy. So the salutogenic model is centered around the idea that health is the result of continuous everyday life interactions between the individuals, their social and economic and cultural, physical and environmental and behavioral and all of the stressors that they may encounter. All of those things come together to really determine people's health and well-being. When you look at a sick role that came out of the medical perspective, it is saying that patient is excused from everyday responsibility and patient has a right to examination, diagnosis, and treatment. So in the case of they come in, something is wrong, we find out what is wrong, diagnose, treat, and we give them some medication and send them back home. Responsibilities must want to get, the responsibility of the patient should be that they want to get well as soon as possible, and patient must seek medical advice and comply with treatment. But even when we look at the whole business of compliance with treatment, we also have to keep in mind the fact that there are persons who have sometimes negative reaction to the very thing that you prescribe for them. And continued compliance can mean that they are going to be in a worse state than they were before. So it has to be a balanced perspective and not just a one unifocus direction. It has to be balanced. You must take into consideration the social aspect of the individuals and the other determinants of health. So when we look at the lay concept of health, health is mean that I am not sick, I don't have any signs or symptoms of any illness. For them, it means that I am fine. But as I think it was Sydney who said that there are other things that could be going on in the background, and they are not yet fully aware of it. So take, for example, hypertension is known as the silent killer. Why? Because a person can be hypertensive and do not know that they are hypertensive, and they are not feeling any signs and symptoms, think that all is well, but all is not well. Physical fitness, for some persons, once they have all the energy and strength, can do the things that they want to do, it means that they are healthy. For others, if their social relationship are where they want it to be, they're having friends and them having a nice time and them having enjoying themselves and having a whale of a time, then it means that I am healthy. For others, it has to do with functionality. I have the ability to carry out tasks and activities. For others, it is their psychosocial well-being. They are feeling happy, they feel prosperous, and they have social linkages, and they have opportunities to do a lot of things. And once those things are in place, as far as they are concerned, they are healthy. There are also some cultural views of health that we also must keep in mind. So for some persons, disease is the outcome of supernatural agencies. For some, it is a punishment for sin. Anybody can find any scriptures or any stories in the Bible that would probably give credence to this, why some persons would be of this opinion. We are my Bible scholars in the class now. Hello?
Can you repeat the question for me, please?
I'm saying that for some persons, disease, we look at some of the cultural views of health. And for some persons, disease is the outcome of supernatural agencies. And some persons will tell that it's the punishment for sin. And I'm asking you if there are any biblical stories that would have given them this idea.
When God punished Pharaoh for not letting his people go with sickness.
Did he punish Pharaoh with sickness?
Yeah, plagues. Yeah, the plagues.
The Egyptians, he punished the Egyptians with sickness.
Yeah, the
Not
Egyptians were
Pharaoh.
punished with sickness, not Pharaoh, right? Who else?
There's a scripture in the Bible. I'm not sure if it's in Psalm. I don't remember the exact scripture, to be honest, where it speaks about like a child has in demon and the child got epilepsy. I came across it some long time ago and I was like, oh, this is why they keep saying that if somebody has epilepsy or is doping upon them or spirits. So the Bible actually spoke about spirits and epilepsy, the child having seizures.
Right, and if you remember also Miriam, when Miriam would have risen up against her brother Moses, she was struck with leprosy. So when the patients come to you and they have some of these things, you have got to remember that there is a spirit, there's a spirit, the spiritual life, their religious life also bring to bear some of the ideas and the beliefs that they have, and you can't just dismiss them. In the same breath, there can be illness that has nothing at all to do with sin. So you can look at Job. Job was struck with illness, and Job, the Bible tells us that God himself declared that Job was a righteous man. So, even if you don't believe in the God, you need to understand its belief and sometimes use it, because it's what they believe in that you have sometimes to use as the platform to help them to get well. Luke was a physician. So there is a reason why they need to seek medical care, because the Bible didn't just tell them that Luke was a physician because he never have anything else to put there. So we have to understand where people are coming from when they come to us with some of the things. For some of them, it's generational curse. Everybody in the family have this thing. So they expect it to happen to them too as they reach a particular age. Some of it might be hereditary, and they term it as generational curse. So we have to understand the mindset. Now, some will tell about evil spirit released by the enemy. So they talk about the dopey and some of those things that will happen. All right, let me see if anybody remember this? Are you hearing it?
Science! Science again!
Are you hearing the video?
Yes,
Hello?
yes,
Oh,
I
it's a
heard
low,
it
but
a
we're
while
hearing
ago.
it.
A little
All right.
bit.
Science again, science again, science again, science again, playing this, and I go like friend, killing them the same thing, it can't work again. I tell it to me, and me, I tell it to my friend, oh, good night. Science again, science again, science again. Science again, science again, science again, science again, all in pain, what true self, all producer, who what true self, all treat sex cell, what true self, all our kids cell, what true self, let go we prosper, them professor disaster, science again, let go we prosper, them professor disaster, and I. Science again, 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 just wait from your star when them throw them water, wait from your feet with them blood them water, without your craft, where you drive it on the further, tell it to the sister, tell it to me, that is a serious thing up that you dip in the land, science again, science again, science again.
All right. So, how many of you remember that song when it hit the market? And Cindy, who is from St. Vincent and the Grenadines, when you talk about science again, it is talking about the whole business of witchcraft. In some countries, it is called voodoo. It's one of those beliefs.
Let's call it Obia.
Obia. That's one of those beliefs that do exist in not just in Jamaica, but quite a number of our Caribbean countries. And so when they talk about the science, so though they are not well, they have a lot of explanations for their health and their illness, and some of these events for them are not very pleasant events. And so there was a time when Admiral Bailey, who's a local dancehall artist, would have came up with that song, and it was very popular, and I mean catchy. People sing it and they laugh about it, but it was more like a social commentary. It was actually addressing some of those beliefs that are there within some of our communities. Do you have similar beliefs in St. Vincent?
Yes, because I have had patients that come and I find some persons take comfort. I would say they're denial. So they look for other causes just to disperse the fact that they have this disease. So sometimes you'd see something and they tell it's jumping in the belly or spiritual warfare. So I think it's technically the same across many of the different Caribbean countries.
Right. So as medical practitioners and as healthcare workers, irrespective of where in the healthcare system you work, you have to understand the nuances that are happening on the ground at the community level for you to be better able to manage when patients may come in for care. Why is it important for public health professionals to be aware of and understand the various beliefs? How can this be done? You have to have your ears on the ground so understand what is happening, because if you don't, then when they come, you may be at a loss as to how to manage them in terms of what is happening with them. No, I don't want to play again. I need to cheat.
It's also still in vogue, you know, doc, in terms of like patients coming in with like guard rings and that kind of stuff.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, they had the black beads around the belly, the red lavender on the face or the forehead, and the black bead around the children's hand. And say that is to keep off bad spirit and mildew.
In Jamaica, it's a red band that they put around the children's hand, the newborn children's hand, and or they'll open a Bible to one of the Psalms and place it over the head of the baby while the baby sleeps. So we do have some of those things across the Caribbean. And we know that Haiti is one of those countries that is known famously for the whole business of the practice of witchcraft. So it is more open in that country, doesn't mean it is not being practiced in other Caribbean countries. So we look at some broad approaches to health and how do we enhance it. There's a treatment, you have the socio-environmental that looks at policies, infrastructure, social services, educational and behavioral. And we are going to be looking at these in detail in further classes. So the treatment approach deals with the use of the medical intervention for solving the issues that a patient will present with. It deals with problem defined by disease, and it is more concerned about disease process and the physical factors that would have given birth to these. When we look at a socio-environmental, we are talking about priorities being given to condition over which people have little or no control. And there are something that they have absolutely no control over. So hereditary conditions are something that they have no control over. We don't determine the family in which we are born. We are just simply born there. And there are things that mean things like sickle cell and all of those things. We have no control over inheriting some of those things. And some are concerned with the underlying determinants of it. What are the other things that impact health? You're talking about developed infrastructure. You talk about healthy public policies, intersectoral partnership, equitable distribution of scarce resources. So I've been looking at all of those things. The question now is, how does health education and health promotion bring all of these parts together? I've been looking at those broader perspective of health. How does health promotion and health education bring it together? Health promotion is a combination of educational, social, environmental support for actions and conditions of living that are conducive to health. And there are some core words from that definition that we need to pay attention to. When we look at combination, we're talking about the importance of matching the determinants of health with multiple interventions. From the educational perspective, we're talking about provision of learning experiences that is going to facilitate voluntary actions. And having said that, we have to keep in mind that knowledge does not always translate into practice. There are many doctors and nurses and healthcare workers who are fully aware of the harmful effect of tobacco smoking, yet they are smokers. So the knowledge is not necessarily going to be translated into practice. When we look at it from a social and environmental perspective, we talked about those economic, cultural, regulatory, organizational factors which will interact with the behavior to influence the individual or individual's health status. What are the core values? Health status of individuals and populations are shaped by multiple determinants. Several things are what will come together to cause people not to be well. Health status can be improved by using multiple approaches to influence these determinants of health. And we are going to be having 2 classes where we are going to be looking at the determinants of health. And in one of those classes, it is actually a game that is going to actually teach that lesson. I hope most, if not all persons, I know Cindy can't be there because she's going to be online. Do not know we are going to manage that part of it. But I hope most persons are in-house because although it is in the form of a game, it really brings to life the whole business of the social determinants of health. So I'm looking forward to that interaction in the classroom. What are the areas for action? We have to think about policies. We have to look at supportive environments. We have to look at community empowerment, the development of personal health skills, the provision of health services, and the building of partnerships. And if anybody had ever looked at the Ottawa Charter for Health, all of these things should be jumping out at them. Health education, on the other hand, is a combination of planned learning experiences that are designed to achieve voluntary action supportive of health. And it's based on sound theories that provide individuals, groups, as well as communities with the opportunity to acquire information as well as skills that are necessary to make quality of health a decision. There's no point in telling them to do if they still do not know how to do it. Just by telling them is not going to make much of a difference. They need to acquire the skill to carry out the action in the first place. And health education really and truly complements health promotion. They are like Siamese twins, inseparable. They work together hand in hand. What are the approaches to health education? It is deemed that effective communication is necessary to improve people's health literacy. And health literacy here does not mean that they understand the terminologies. Health literacy also includes them having an understanding of the services that are available and where these services can be accessed. That's a part of health literacy. We also look at fostering motivation, skills, and confidence to take the action. They need to feel empowered that, yes, I can do this and not only do it, but I can maintain it. And when we look at health belief model, this is going to come out a whole lot more when we look at that particular health model. Mobilize and organize participation in activities that impact health outcomes. So we really want them to be involved, to be active participant in whatever it is that is being done for their own health and well-being. What are the core values for health education? People have the ability to make decisions about their own health. When they come to you, it's because something is wrong, and sometimes you will find, and you may need to explore in your communication with them, what is it that they would have tried at home, what worked, and what did not work. Because as a people, I know here in Jamaica that when we get to the doctor, it's usually after we have tried something at home and it did not work. I do not know if it's the same situation in St. Vincent, Cindy, where when they come to, they would have already tried everything else. And when everything else failed, that's when they come to you for that kind of care. Is that the same situation there?
Yes, it's the same. When they don't drink the garlic water, when they don't put the clove, when they don't try everything, and then they realize that they're still feeling this type of way, they feeling worse, then they come and say. And then sometimes when they come, you could still smell the garlic on top of them, but they only came because they are now symptomatic.
Right. So they will try. Is there anybody else online from another country other than Jamaica? Anybody else from any other territory? Okay, I'm going to take that as a no. All right. They are more likely to do what we really would like them to do if they are informed, if they are made to feel confident that yes, they can carry through with the activity, if they are allowed to feel responsible, and if they are not forced or coerced to do these things. And there are some other values of health education that we can look at. And the little diagram there is looking at Travis, illness, wellness, continue. To your left, I hope my left is your left too, we'll see where there's premature death. And to the right, you see high level of wellness. What we really want is that neutral point in the middle. There are times when persons will come to you and they're actually in that treatment paradigm section, but with adequate care, we can actually help them to come back to that middle ground. And those who are on the right, we really want them to stay over there because that is their high level of wellness, and that is where we actually want them to remain. So health status can be changed. It can go either way along this continuum. Changes in social conditions without changes in attitude and behavior can lead to failure. And individuals, their families, and their communities can be taught how to assume this responsibility for their own health and well-being. So what do we do, or what can we do? For a healthy nation, multiple strategies need to be put on the table, as well as engagement of multiple sectors in what we are doing. National vision of health shared by many agencies, and some persons can think about Vision 2030, which is a national vision in which their health is enshrined. Other Caribbean countries also have their vision, and we can look at some of those in further lessons. Measures that need to be employed to reach individuals through the life cycle. And in another lesson, we are going to be looking at the whole business of Caribbean Wellness Day and how that actually approach health from the life cycle perspective as they looked at what was happening with chronic disease across the Caribbean. We have to look at measures to target groups and communities, and remember that different target population, different groups, we have to come to the table with different strategies, because what we do with one is not necessarily what we are going to be doing with everybody. We also need to use different settings as entry point for intervention. And in health promotion too, we are going to spend some time looking at a settings approach to health promotion. Communities and groups must be included in the decision-making process. We plan with the people, for the people. We need to listen to the people. There is what is said to be conventional wisdom in every community. They have an understanding of what is happening with them. Sometimes they already have the solution that can bring about a change that we want to see. All they need is a supportive environment to actually make it happen. So we have to work with them and talk with them. How can we help? How can this thing called a problem tree analysis be of help in that regard? The problem tree analysis is a situational analysis, or also called situational analysis or just problem analysis. What it does, it helps to find solutions by mapping out the cause and effect around an issue. The prevalence of most health problems are driven by various factors. Develop a mindset to ask why before attempting to find solution. Why am I seeing this thing that I'm seeing? So when we use the problem tree method, it helps us to identify the issues of concern. Then it lists the causes of the problem. What are the factors driving the issue that we are looking at? It also looks at the outcomes or other problems that the issue can trigger. And it also identifies strategies that can be employed to solve this problem. So it is based on if you are going to be working in a group of 6 or 8 persons. Now, last academic year or previous academic year, this is one of the assignments that would have been given in groups, but this year, we're not going to be doing this as one of the group assignment. Well, there are some areas that I want us to look at, and then we'll come and talk about it and discuss it. What are the advantages of using this strategy? The problem can be broken down into manageable and definable chunks. This enables a clearer prioritization of factors and helps us to focus on the objective. There is better understanding of the problem, the interconnectedness that will exist, and sometimes contradictory causes that may be there. This is often the first step in finding a win-win solution to issues that present themselves. There are many advantages for the use of the problem tree as a way of mapping out issues. It helps us to identify central issues and arguments. It helps us to establish who and what the political actors and processes are at each stage. It helps in establishing whether further information, evidence, or resources are needed to make a strong case or build a convincing solution. It deals with present issues as well as the process of analysis, often helps to build a shared sense of understanding, build purpose, and galvanize us into action. So here we have that example of what it should look like. So in the middle chunk, there would be where the problem is. At the bottom of it, what is it that gives birth to this problem that we are seeing up here? What are the symptoms of the problem? How does it manifest itself? So above the surface, you can see the symptoms of the problem. Dig deeper and you'll find the root cause of the problem. And so this is how the problem tree help us to really pick apart an issue and see what is causing it, how it is manifesting itself, and then it will point us into the kind of interventions that need to be placed on the table to help us now to manage or bring about a solution to the issue that we are seeing. Some points that we should consider when we are going to be applying that type of technique. Is this a true representation of the reality? Are there economic, political, and socio-cultural dimensions to the problem that is being considered? Is there improvement in the causes and the consequences? Which are getting worse and which are staying the same? So are we seeing any change at all in what is that in regards to the way it is manifesting itself? Which consequences are the most serious? What criteria are more important in charting a way forward? Which causes are easiest or most difficult to address? Because when you look at the root causes, there are some that may be easily resolved, others may require long-term and a whole lot more in-depth analysis and intervention for it to actually change. What are the possible solutions or options that are available? Can a change in policy help to address a cause or the consequences, or will it create a solution that can be worked with? What decisions are being made? What actions are being agreed on? And so the problem tree, I want you to look at these. Oh, I just remember that you have not gotten the copy of the course out, the presentation as yet. But I want you to quickly jot these down for me. High rates of unemployment and underemployment, especially among young people. High levels of mental health stigma and low access to services. Rising rate of obesity in children. High prevalence of domestic violence, especially amongst women and children, and high levels of crime and violence. Now, these problems would be what would be on the trunk of the tree. What I am going to ask you to do, pick one, because I'm not going to put you into any group right now. Just pick one and use the problem tree technique to kind of flesh it out. And next week when we come to class, we can spend even 10 or 15 minutes having a few persons just sharing what that they would have looked at. And we just have a little discussion around it, because I want you to have an idea how to actually actionize this particular technique. So quickly write down those for me and just spend some time looking at just one of them. And then when we come to class, we can have a class discussion around it. So it's that you're going to have just you alone presenting, and you're not going to be graded on it, but it's for class discussion for everybody's benefit and edification. So let me know when you're finished writing.
Good evening. I missed one. Could you please repeat them?
All right, you have high rates of unemployment and underemployment, especially among young people. There is high levels of mental health, stigma, and low access to services. Rising rate of obesity in children was number 3. Number 4, high prevalence of domestic violence, especially against women and children. And number 5, high levels of crime and violence.
Nothing is being said currently. We're just writing down the topics.
Right, I just wanted to write them down and just pick one and have a look at it.
Do you
And
think
we're
access to the PowerPoint by tomorrow?
yes, once there's electricity on campus, it will be posted to the bin. But we didn't have any electricity on campus today, so I couldn't send out anything at all because I had no internet connectivity.
I think it's a case where we can move on now, though.
All right. And this is for just for individual reflection. Health is multi-determined. What are the implications of health promotion and health education as a concept for all categories of public health professionals? That's something for you to mull over. And so, in summary, health education and promotion is a cross-cutting discipline because it integrates various fields, it influences multiple sectors, and it addresses a broad range of factors that impact health and well-being. It is holistic in its approach because it ensures that health is not just the absence of disease, but a state of complete physical, mental, and social well-being achievable through the collective efforts of individuals, communities, as well as the broader society. And we now get down to my little nuggets that I tend to use in my class. A wise teacher once brought balloons to school, told her pupils to blow them up and write their name on one. After the children tossed their balloons into the hall, the teacher moved through the hall, mixing them all up. The kids were given 5 minutes to find the balloon with their name on it. But though they searched frantically, no one found their own balloon. Then the teacher told them to take the balloon closest to them and give it to the person whose name was on it. In less than 2 minutes, everyone was holding their own balloon. The teacher said to the children, "These balloons are like happiness. We won't find it when we are only searching on our own. But if we care about someone else's happiness, it will ultimately help us to find our own." So when we care about those around us, it can help us to get where we want to be. And this one says, "Where those who stand for nothing fall for anything." And that quote is attributed to Alexander Hamilton. And if you stand for a reason, be prepared to stand alone like a tree. And if you fall on the ground, fall like a seed that goes back to fight again. And so those are the nuggets that I leave with you this afternoon. And before anybody starts to disappear from off the platform, there are some persons, I know your first name and your last name. For some, I don't know them. So, Alia, I already know is your Alicia. What's your last name?
Hamilton.
Alicia Hamilton.
It's not showing.
I just see Alicia. I didn't see the last name.
All right.
Alex, what's your last name again?
Lawson.
For some reason, I'm not hearing Alex.
He
Lawson.
said Lawson.
Okay. Cheryl?
Smith, Cheryl Smith.
Cindy, I know yours already. Daniel is Walters, right? Denise?
Yes, ma'am.
Denise?
It's Wood.
Your last name is Wood?
Yes, ma'am.
Francine? Francis is White Middleton, right? All right. Jody Hilton?
Should I say present?
The other name is what? Kay Palmer?
Yes, K. Palmer. Cool. Yes.
It's a double barrel name, right?
It is, yes.
What's the last part of it?
It's Palmer Cole. Palmer dash Cole.
All right. This is Krishna.
Sorry,
What?
miss, I'm driving, so it's difficult for me to handle the phone and drive. It's
All
White
right.
Middleton.
White Middleton. Melissa. I have Melissa Forbes Gabidon.
Yes, that's correct.
But there's another Melissa also.
It's Melissa Richards.
Richards.
And there's a Melissa Lala as well.
All right, Melissa.
Lala.
L.A.
LALAH.
All right. Lala, how do you spell your Melissa?
Oh, I'm not Melissa Lala, Miss. She's just not in the class right now. My name is Wasimi Blake, but her Melissa is Melissa.
2S. All right, so she's not at class today. And then Richards, how do you spell your Melissa?
Same, 1L, 2S.
All right. And Melissa Forbes, how do you spell your Melissa? Same way?
Same as the other two.
All right, so I got that one. I've already had Nadine Badal, I've Marius, Nareen Roberts, Oshina Snape, Patrick Bennett. Danai, what's your first name again?
Sunil, Sunil.
Sunil, Sunil. All right. And Simone is Dr. Vanessa, what's your last name?
Green like the color.
Careful you show that not this environment and tomorrow's election. All right, so I think I would have gotten everybody online, everybody in the class name. So I do thank you for putting up with me this afternoon. We finished a little bit early, but not to worry, because that time was actually allotted for discussion of your course outline, which we didn't get to do this evening. So I will try and get those things off. Well, I will still send them off tomorrow and speak with our IT person to see if he can upload them on the platform so that you can actually have access to them. So try and get that out tomorrow. And then the next class, we'll discuss the course outline and your assignments and talk a little bit about that problem tree. So have a great rest of the afternoon, everybody.
Just confirming, health education 3 is at 10 o'clock on Friday?
Yes, we are meeting for 10 o'clock on Friday to discuss health promotion tree and to look at the health, the track in general.
Okay.
I will send out a Zoom platform because the biostatistics will be using the platform that we are on now. So I'm going to have to use another platform for that discussion.
Thank you.
All right. Have a great rest of the afternoon.
You too.
Yeah, and I
Quick
like
question, Mrs. Walters.
Go ahead.
For the discussion of the problem tree analysis, each person, it's just choose one, or we should create a problem tree analysis for all four?
Just one, just
Just one. Thank you.
It's the cause, the problem, and what else, please?
I didn't get that.
The cause, the problem, and the other parties?
It manifests itself as symptoms.
Okay, thank you.
But hopefully by tomorrow, the PowerPoint will be in the bin, so you can actually get it, so you can actually review, so you can look at it.
Thank you.
Just a quick question, please. The class on Friday at 10 o'clock, that also has online access as well. We just follow the same Zoom link.
Yes, you should be able to do that for the biostatistics class.
Okay, all right, thank you so much.
Just
But
that,
for
no, the health promotion tree, those are these persons who are doing the health promotion track.
okay, all right,
It's
perfect,
not
thank
the
you.
general class, right?
Would that also be offered face-to-face?
You mean the health promotion tree?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm not a person who's going to be taking you through that one, do you know?
Okay.
The person who's going to be facilitating that class is Miss Nikisha Barnes, and those are Jamaicans who know who she is. She won, think they won here, Rising
Oh,
Star.
Dixon Rising Star.
Yes, it's that same Nikisha Barnes. So she's the one who's going to be teaching that module. So she should be joining us in that meeting on Friday. So have a great rest of the evening.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. You too.
Thanks, teacher. You too.
All right.
Thank you.
Hmm.